After receiving a ton of criticism about the move the 49ers made, they just proved that it was a great move. I'm going to tell you about it in this episode. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Appreciate all of you guys for hitting that sub button, for joining me in the comments, sharing your perspective. I've been trying to get in there lately. I've been a little bit busy, but I've been getting in there and trying to comment with you guys and converse with you guys about those Niners. Let's get into today's episode. First, I've got a question for you real fast. I want to ask you how much more confident you're feeling going into this year about this 49ers defense right now. Because I was looking at it, been listening to a lot of radio podcasts when I'm not, when I'm traveling from one place to another for work or whatever. And I've got some thoughts here. Let's talk about the run defense first. I'm going to break it down real fast. You let me know in the comments what you think. But on the run defense side, I have some concerns. Alfred Collins has not played at the level. He's not ready yet. He's not ready, right? So my worry is, are we going to start off the season not having our run defense the way we want it? In other words, is Seattle gonna get a lot of yards on us? At least are they going to have no problem getting to the second level? That's my big concern. Now, Mykel Williams is supposed to be healthy by that point, so hopefully that helps on setting the edge. And then you're going to have guys like Jordan Elliott has to do a job. CJ West, hopefully he's going to be ready. He's supposed to be ready by week 1 as well. I just feel like there's going to be some growing pains on that that young defensive line. That's just my gut in terms of run stuffing. That is what they're capable of, and they're definitely, I think, as we move on to linebackers and start talking about the second level, I think linebackers were actually in a much better situation than we were last year. Going into the season, I was actually embarrassingly high on Devondre Campbell, and look how wrong I was. Devondre Campbell is gone now, obviously, and D. Winters has stepped up from every single reporter imaginable. Everybody says D. Winters took a huge step this year, so that's fantastic news. He becomes your obvious will linebacker, your LB2, whatever you want to call him, and obviously you've got Fred Warner in the middle. So if they get a little bit of help and containment, which you got pressure from Nick Bosa on one side, and you have Mykel first and second down on the outside for sure, I think we're going to be okay. Then you have Robert Saleh coming in there helping out from a scheme perspective. I feel better about it than last year, but I am concerned that there's going to be a little bit of growing pains from the defensive line. Linebackers, I feel better about. Nick Martin, we'll talk more about him later in this episode. Feeling really good about his development and where he's at, especially where his head is at, how he's processing things. I'm really encouraged by that. And then in the secondary, this is a weird one because on paper, our secondary looks significantly worse than it looked last year. But when you look at the actual players who played on the field, I actually think our secondary looks better than they did. So you have no Hufanga for most of the season. You have no Charvarius Ward for great chunks of the season. So in both safety and corner, if we hit on those rookies like it looks like we did with both Upton Stout, Marquise Siegel, so now you have Deommodore Lenoir as your lockdown corner. He's had a lot to say in his press conference today. There's some good stuff in there about how he's processing, a couple areas where he maybe fell short this weekend. I'm feeling really good about the starting corners and the starting safeties if everything's shaking out the way I think it is. I have a lot more concern, however, about the depth. I'm not so sure about the depth at both safety and corner. I think we have a little bit of concern there. However, in general, I'm feeling pretty good about the starting core of this defense. Outside of rookies are going to make rookie mistakes. Like, we just have to expect that. You're going to be playing new players every single week for the first time in their lives. It's going to be a little bit tricky, I think, at times. And so we're going to have to get used to that. Hopefully Saleh makes up for any of those areas, and we feel good about it. I went entirely too long on this comment section. This is supposed to be about you guys, and here I am talking. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this defense. I feel better than last year at the end of the season, better than I felt at the end of last year's season, but I still think there's going to be some growing pains early on. I think the Seattle Seahawks might run on us quite a bit there, so we'll see how it all plays out. But quick updates for you, and then I want to get to this move that the 49ers made that got a lot of criticism not too long ago and has now really flipped the script on there. I'm going to talk about that in a minute too, but first, players back. I talked to you guys about this yesterday. 18 players, now 17, I'll tell you why in a second, but 18 players who were supposed to be, or who are either coming back today through the beginning to week 1. They're either like before week 1 or close to week 1 returns. And we've got a bunch of them back today. Nick Bosa doesn't really count. He's on the list because he was technically, injured, I guess you could say, but with neck soreness or whatever. No, I'm not really worried about that. I was never worried about him. I never expected him to feature in the game, so we're good. Renardo Green, that's a huge, huge step back to have him back, or step forward to have him back. Isaac Guerrero, huge step forward to have him back. Desperately need him after what happened this weekend. Jordan Elliott, that's massive. The defensive line is so low. Like, we needed players back. Sam Okuanu, again, we need these players back. That's awesome. Jason Pinnock, also great. Wasn't down for too long, but so good to have him back. That was a big one. By the way, speaking of both Guerrero and Green, Kyle Shanahan had some things to say about them returning to practice today. Both of those guys, it was really good to get back, and they stayed back. I'm always a little nervous at those guys the first time, but that's why we put them through a big protocol before they get back. And Guerrero was about letting his shoulder heal, but he was able to get his conditioning great because it was just a shoulder injury. He said that multiple times. He said that last week too. So that's exciting to know that Guerrero should be able to hit the ground running, which he did today and impressed a lot of people. Several people saying Guerrero took a heavy load today and handled it really well. Renardo, being a hamstring, took a little bit longer, but that's where in a normal protocol, he might have been back last week, but we were a lot safer with him, making sure they could be full go by this week. Interesting. Nobody's talking about this, but Kyle Shanahan going out of his way to make sure everybody knows the protocols this year have been more extreme than in previous seasons. So I don't know if that's something from strength and conditioning. I don't know where that's coming from, who's kind of calling that shot, but I do love that they're being ultra conservative right now in preseason and training camp. This is the time to be ultra conservative, so I'm stoked about that. All right, some injury updates we do have to get to, not good injury updates, a lot of them, but we'll just jump in there. Dominic Puni, knee sprain, 3 weeks or so. No surprise there. The only benefit is it's a knee sprain and not a PCL or ACL or MCL or something like any of the CLs. I don't really like the CLs. Mac Jones, knee sprain, a week or so. Corey Kiner, bad ankle sprain situation, more than a month for Corey Kiner, but we were not surprised by that because of the list he was put on. Yetur Gross-Matos, knee, PUP candidate. Minimum first 4 weeks. So he's not a guarantee to be a PUP candidate, or he's not guaranteed to be on the PUP, but basically Kyle said it's taken a lot longer than we've expected, and so his knee is just not back yet, so he's a candidate for ending up on the PUP list, which would be missing the first 4 weeks. Patrick Taylor Jr., shoulder out for the season. That move itself is a huge bummer. It goes on season-ending IR, so that's too bad. Oh, there were players, and I just realized I didn't put them. I don't think I put it on here. There were some players also. Amir Abdullah was one of them, and I'm blanking on who the other player was. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. But they are gone. So Amir Abdullah was injured. He kind of ended up being in a situation where the 49ers settled a deal with them, and he's gone. Okay, Mykel Williams, still not back from his hyperextension. Kyle Shanahan said Williams is close, but he reported some lingering discomfort on Monday, so they're viewing him as day-to-day with hope he'll return next week. Okay, so there's Mykel Williams, probably not going to feature this weekend. Upton Stout, which is still back for week 1 and still gets 2 full weeks before week 1. So I'm good about that. But he was supposed to be back this week, and so that's a bummer. Upton Stout is still working his way back. Kyle Shanahan said, I hope so. Stout is close to returning. He said Stout had a good workout on Monday and got a recovery day today. Shanahan says he hasn't been concerned about Stout missing week 1. So Stout could actually be back this week. I wonder if they'll risk him, though, in the game based on how Kyle Shanahan sees that. He doesn't want to play any starters if he can avoid it in this preseason game. And can you blame him with the number of injuries the 49ers have had this offseason and training camp? Kyle Shanahan said nothing new to report on Juwan Jennings and his calf. Shanahan indicated Jennings needs to get back healthy to get some practice in before the season starts. I'm not going to read into that. I'm going to choose not to read into that. Instead, I want to talk about this guy, this feel-good story, this Nick Martin story. This is a guy that a week ago, a lot of people were freaking out about how badly he played, how poorly he played. And the negative news around Nick Martin was so drastic. And I get it, like social media does explode things way out of proportion. So I should not catch on to those narratives, but I saw it. I noticed it. People were freaking out like, oh, this was a bad pick. Already saying it was a bad pick, and that's nuts. That's insane. Nick Martin, of course, goes out there. He had a great attitude after the game, talking about the things that he's doing. He's not sweating those mistakes that he made. And then he had a really good game this weekend against the Raiders. Played much, much better. There was a great piece by Eric Branch. I encourage you to go check it out with the San Francisco Chronicle. But here's just some stuff from Eric Branch real quick. Nick Martin resembled one of the worst players on the field in his preseason debut. On Saturday, in his second game, the San Francisco 49ers rookie linebacker got the attention of one of the best players in the NFL. If you didn't hear this, that's pretty crazy. There we go in the flat. Boom. Crosby said as Jackson ran near the right sideline and broke a tackle attempt by cornerback Chase Lucas. Then Crosby's tone changed when Jackson's momentum was stopped suddenly and violently. Oh, he said, like, oh, wow, as in that was a heck of a hit. He was mic'd up during that part, and it was pretty funny. Martin didn't just stop Jackson. He almost impaled him after sprinting from the middle of the field to the lower boom with a textbook form tackle. Textbook. If your game is absolutely destroy the player, then yes, it was a textbook tackle. It was the type of collision Martin often created at Oklahoma State, which prompted the 49ers to select him at the number 75 overall pick in April. General Manager John Lynch then described Martin as a run and hit linebacker and raised expectations while likening his style to that of Dre Greenlaw. On Saturday, Martin didn't consistently resemble Greenlaw, the 49ers tone setter who signed with Denver in March, but he looked far better than he did in the preseason opener August 9th. After missing tackles and looking lost in coverage in an out-of-control debut, Martin tied a team high with 5 solo tackles, had a sack, and added another stop behind the line of scrimmage. Here's where it gets good. This is how Nick Martin talked about, and this is so good, you guys. He is so mature for his age. Listen to this. This is what he had to say. I think it was just calming down a little bit. I think it got a little too amped up. That sounds very Dre Greenlaw-esque, by the way. Got a little too amped up. Tried to make everything a kill shot. Even today, I had a couple of misses talking about the game on Saturday, but I definitely made some improvements. I feel like I'm getting my feet under me, getting settled in. What I love about this, and there's another quote here I'm going to read in a second too, but this is Nick Martin, just like, hear me out, right? Don't be too high on your highs. Don't be too low on your lows, right? That's classic, like, stock trading strategy. That's classic strategy in anything when you're learning and growing. Like, don't be too low on your lows. You make mistakes. It's not who you are. Doesn't define you. Don't be too high on your highs. Take time, be humble, learn from your mistakes. You're not perfect yet, right? That's that kind of mentality you want out of a linebacker. I just felt a little more comfortable, and that's the goal. Just keep getting my feet in the ground and just making the plays that come to me. I definitely would say I feel more comfortable and a little more clear-headed too. That is the kind of perspective you want out of a young player. You want that out of every player, but especially out of a young player. I love Demo. I'm really growing to love Chase Lucas. I love the chatter. I love the intensity. I love the mentality of I'm always going to get you on the next play. Nothing, like, I'm not trying to throw any shade on those guys, but I much prefer a guy like this who's kind of rising up, working his way up there, having some humility, accepting his mistakes, which, to be fair, Demo did accept his mistakes today in the press conference. So all that being said, like, this dude is a real one. I'm really, really excited about him. You know, you think about his how he looked coming into the season. The narrative around Nick Martin was this: he's really fast, he's explosive, he's twitchy, he's an athlete, good closing speed, burst, all that kind of stuff. And on the negative side, here's what they said about him. They said, he's too small for an NFL linebacker, yet none of his hits looked too small to me. That's just my opinion. He misses too many tackles in space, right? Actually, I think he did pretty well hitting some tackles in open space when it really mattered. So I'm stoked. I know it's just preseason. You don't have to tell me. I know it, okay? But we're looking at a game in a few days now, 4 days away from the Chargers, and I'm just hyped about Nick Martin and the opportunities he's gotten. There will be almost no starters per Kyle Shanahan in the game coming up against the Chargers. So we'll be looking at a lot of depth guys. Will be the most interesting thing to look at, for real. Like, the most interesting thing to look at this game against the Chargers is how many snaps Chase Lucas gets. Okay? Because this is something that I'm a little afraid of. Eric Branch actually talked about this in an article recently today too. I read a lot of articles, but Eric Branch talked about like there's a reality that if Kyle Shanahan sees Chase Lucas as a really important player on this roster, you should be a little concerned, just a little, with how many snaps he's getting. The guy's out there constantly on the field, both of these games, getting more snaps. I think he's had more snaps than anybody else on defense over the last 2 games, over the 2 preseason games. So that tells you, like, if he's worried about protecting his starters, this guy, Chase Lucas, who I'm hoping makes the team. I really don't think he doesn't make the team. I really do believe he's going to make the team. But it is a fair point from Eric Branch to say there is another part of this narrative where you look at how many snaps he's played and you say, Kyle Shanahan, we know him. He doesn't want to play any starters this weekend. And he's gotten so many snaps that I do wonder. So I think this weekend will be really telling. If Chase Lucas, and I think the 53-man roster is like 2 days after the game. I think it's Monday or something like that. So it's coming up pretty close. If he gets a ton of starts on Saturday, I will definitely be concerned that he's not going to make the team. That will definitely be a worry of mine. But we'll see. And I would say worry because I like him. I really like his intensity. I like how Saleh's using him. And he's getting his opportunity. He's definitely getting an opportunity this season. If we let him go, he's going to get picked up by somebody else. I guarantee it. Because he's shown enough on the tape to say that he deserves some recognition. Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening.